So it's the day after the Game Awards. Here we are in the afterglow, the post-Game Awards clarity, one might say. And it was a pretty good show, pretty exciting, lots of big reveals. And overall, I think Jeff does a pretty good job. But in this video, I want to go over 3 big winners, 3 misses, and maybe 3 low-key bangers, just for you to chew on as we digest everything that we saw. But if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I'm Dustin. I post videos here every week along with streams on Wednesday nights. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. We are almost to 10,000 subscribers, and that would be such an awesome goal to hit, maybe this year, but probably next year. But either way, thanks for watching. Let's get into some of these big winners. Oh, and I should say, I don't mean winners of like the awards. I'm talking mainly about announcements, but we'll talk about the awards in general towards the end of the video. The first big winner came pretty early in the show, and that is Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. And I mean, it goes without saying how big of an announcement this is. Seeing the return of Knights of the Old Republic, and this got me excited, and it made me ask a few questions too. First of all, I think there's some reporting from Jason Schreier right now that this is maybe a 2030 game at the best estimate, and so you're going to be waiting quite a while for this. But the big question I have is that now that we have a brand new Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, or in this case Fate of the Old Republic, where's that remake? What's going on with that? It just seems weird, like maybe you're putting the cart before the horse, but maybe if this was in the works and there's problems with the remake, then they just kind of got to go ahead with the plan. But for me, I remember playing the original Knights of the Old Republic when I was a kid. I don't know if I ever finished it. It's one of those games I've always wanted to get back to. And now I thought, oh, well, or I guess this was years ago that I was waiting for this remake to finally dive back in. But it seems like we've got some time before the next one. But either way, I love to see a big announcement for this. Shout out to our boy Maddie. Love seeing him get this. The next big winner, in my opinion at least, was the new Control game, which is not called Control 2, it's called Control Resonance, and I've become a big Remedy fan over the years. In fact, I really have been pretty much since the beginning with Max Payne. I remember playing that on PS2, but more recently with Alan Wake 2, which is just an amazing game. If you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend it. But the original Control, I feel like came out of nowhere for some people. I don't want to say it was the first big hit for Remedy, but I think it was one of the games that really brought people into the full power, the unlimited power of weirdness from Remedy. And I really like that game to the point I've been thinking about going back and playing it for a while. So Remedy's been, Alan Wake 2, as I just mentioned, was really good, but they also did that FBC Firebreak game recently that lost them a lot of money. So we've been kind of waiting to see what's next for them. We know the Max Payne remakes, of course, are coming, but seeing a new Control game, and I really like the direction of this trailer, seeing that you're going out into New York City and not just staying within the oldest house. And the other really important thing too is that it looks like we're getting more of a character action game from this instead of a third-person shooter-esque from the original Control. I do think that there could be some improvements to the Control formula, and I know some people like this stuff, but the main thing about the first Control that really bogged it down for me was just the endless amount of documents. And don't get me wrong, I like reading a document here and there, but there was just simply way too many in the first Control. So I'd like to see a little bit of streamlining. It's cool to see you're playing as a new main character in this game. You're playing as Jesse Faden's brother in this, and honestly, I gotta brush up on the first Control because I remember Jesse, but I don't remember a lot of the specifics of the story. So I love this. I love how weird Remedy is, and so it seems like they're, as always, going balls to the wall. So great announcement. The last big winner I want to point out is Mega Man Dual Override, and this just looks so cool. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Mega Man. I really like Mega Man Legends, and so is there a tinge of disappointment it's not Mega Man Legends? Maybe for me, but I understand and appreciate the fact that they're bringing back Mega Man finally. It seemed like Mega Man 11, I didn't play it, but it seemed like it maybe wasn't a game that was worthy of being the next game in that lineage, because it was kind of forgotten about. No one talks about Mega Man 11. I hear more conversation about Mega Man 9 and 10, honestly, these days, but seeing them bring it back, and Capcom recently made that statement that they want to revitalize some of these IP and starting off going back to the classics with Mega Man. And I think from a visual standpoint, this looks great. It's not doing anything cute or weird with the style. In fact, it looks like a lot of those Mega Man original art from the NES era. Not the American art. I'm talking about the Japanese art, of course, not that. Overall, I think it's an awesome, exciting announcement. I'm interested in playing it, and it's just one of those ones that's shocking. Even Colin Moriarty couldn't have expected this, and good for him. I'm happy for him. But overall, great announcement. I know you guys want to know all the juicy misses of the night, but before we do that, let's talk about the 3 low-key bangers, the ones that I think are super awesome, but you're not necessarily going to see a million tweets about them. So keep your eye on these ones. We'll start with the softest one, and that is the new Pragmata trailer. Guys, I played this game at Summer Game Fest, and it's got the sauce. It's got something going on. The combat is unlike anything I've played before, and this particular trailer I think really elevated my level of excitement. The music in it had a little bit of a Nier vibe, and there's something about this game that I'm like, man, this looks like it's going to be something special. I think, though, one of the most exciting things about this trailer is that we finally have a release date of April 24th, 2026. Capcom on fire right now between Resident Evil and, of course, dude, the Leon reveal. Everyone knows how sick that was. But seeing that Pragmata finally gets a release date, and I put this in the low-key category because it's a new IP. So I think some people are not necessarily going to be as interested until people finally get the game. Maybe it blows up or something like that. But from everything I can tell, this game looks absolutely excellent, and I absolutely love this new trailer. The next game you're going to want to keep your eye on is The Order of the Sinking Star. I don't know if I love that name, but I do love the creator of this game, and that's Jonathan Blow. Most famously created Braid, if you remember that, back on the Xbox 360 Live Arcade, and The Witness on PlayStation 4, and both of those games are absolutely excellent. Braid in particular is a game that I could come back to every few years. And The Witness, also really good. I think I have a little more nitpicks with The Witness. And so this new game is like a top-down puzzle game that apparently, if I'm reading this article right from IGN, can take up to 250 hours to beat. And there's over 1,000 puzzles. And so that sounds a little over the top. And my main problem with The Witness was there was a point where it was like puzzle overload. But I think conceptually overall it was such a cool and neat game, and everything we're seeing from Order of the Sinking Star looks really cool. I like the grid-based system, the different characters, of course, and all the different ways the puzzles can play out. I think it looks pretty cool. And so maybe, who knows? Maybe it could be like One Piece, where initially you hear how long it is and you're like, oh, that sucks. But then you start playing and you're like, I want more. Hopefully that's the case. But either way, I'm always down to check out pretty much anything Jonathan Blow makes. And so Order of the Sinking Star, I'm very interested in it. The last low-key banger I want to point out, it's a bit of a mark for me. Let's be honest. Of course, I'm going to want to point this game out. It's called Orbitals. This is a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive co-op game, kind of reminiscent of Split Fiction or It Takes Two, at least from the way the split screen works from the trailer. But it is stylized in an 80s anime look, and it's so faithful. It looks so cool. The different co-op gameplay elements shows like one person flying the ship, the other person the gunner. But I think the main thing for me is just the stylization being so on point with the 80s anime look. And like I said, I'm a mark for it, but I showed this to Holly last night, my wife Holly, and she was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to play that, because she really liked Split Fiction and It Takes Two. And so looking at this, I was like, yeah, this is like that, but better, because Japan. So yeah, Orbitals looks pretty awesome. All right, you guys wanted the juicy misses and the little bit of a negative aspect of it, so let's go ahead, let's get into some of these. The first game that did not hit for me was a game called Stupid Never Dies. This game, it started the trailer with like a whole music video section. that was like, a pop punk song, which should be relevant to my interests, but felt somehow much more Disney Channel than anything else. And the gameplay, looks fine. I don't know, maybe I'm not at the right point in my life where I see this and maybe they're going for some kind of like millennial emo nostalgia bait, but it's not working for me. It's not doing it. There's something about it that stinks. I don't like it. Who knows? Maybe the game could prove me wrong. I also want to point out there's a GameSpot article that I was reading about the game announcements, and it said that it's set to ska music. And I'm like, bro, come on, man. Come on with that. Probably the most negative reaction from the night was the final trailer, which, a lot of people put a lot of weight into what the final trailer of the night should be. It should be a big send-off, maybe the most exciting, or at least pretty exciting. And so the last trailer of the show was this game called High Guard, which is a free-to-play FPS game from some of the creators of Titanfall and Apex Legends. It's not that it looks bad. I don't think anyone can look at this and say it looks like a bad game. It just looks like, from a gameplay perspective, just like many games you've already played before. I think people are, they're feeling the weight of all these free-to-play first-person shooter games, and I will give it the fact that it has this fantasy FPS setting that, looks pretty cool, but seeing a character do an ultimate, it's lost at this point. Like, no one cares about the character's ultimate. So I think that there's a possibility that this game is good. Either way, the announcement, the timing of it, not a good move for this game, because I think this is now a game that people are going to be rooting for to fail, and that's not ideal. I think they maybe would have been better off. Maybe it's tough to compare this to Marathon, but let people play it and start off with letting influencers, Twitch players, whatever, I don't know, playing this game, or just going immediately like, hey, here's our game, maybe do an open beta and let the gameplay sell itself. Just because showing it like this, I think people are just a little bit tired. So High Guard, best of luck. Maybe not the best placement for your reveal. The last one is going to be a little bit controversial, and it's, it's not really for me, but it didn't work for me or get me interested, and that is the Street Fighter movie. I'm not sure what to make of this, because there is an element where I like things being over the top and wacky and weird, but not when it's trying too hard. And it seemed like this is trying a little bit too hard. I also felt that having the cast on stage was cool. Got a little weird and made me feel secondhand embarrassment with the call out to the Mortal Kombat team. I don't know. The whole thing just felt weird, but I'm not a Street Fighter fan, so I might be totally wrong about this. Let me know, Street Fighter fans, if you liked what you saw. Let me know down below, just because I'm a little bit out of my league here, but you would hope that a trailer like this could convince people that aren't fans to be interested in, the movie or the IP, and it kind of did the opposite of that for me. I have one bonus miss, and it is awards related, which we'll talk about awards in a second. The fact that The Last of Us Season 2 won Best Adaptation, man. I remember we watched it for Sacred Symbols Plus, and I think I was like, yeah, it's okay. And then by the end, I was like, no, it wasn't that good. And then now in hindsight, looking back and thinking about the whole picture, it's like, man, incredible fall off for that show, because Season 1 was pretty good. I don't know if it was amazing, but it was amazing for an adaptation standpoint of a video game. And then Season 2, I think it just all fell apart. I don't know what was supposed to win instead, maybe Minecraft or something, but yeah, Last of Us Season 2 winning. No thanks. And to round out this video, just to talk about some of the awards themselves, of course, the big thing is that Expedition 33 won what feels like everything. They won Game of the Year, Best Direction, Best Art Direction, Best Music. The list goes on. In fact, they're the most winning game of a Game Awards, I think by 2. I think they won 8 awards. And so it's a tough situation for me, because I absolutely think Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is my Game of the Year. And it's one of the best games I think I've ever played. Not necessarily in terms of gameplay or doing anything incredibly unique, but from a story perspective, it really resonated with me. I think it is tough though, because I think the fans of this game are getting a little overbearing, and the haters of this game are getting overbearing, and I just kind of want to enjoy it in my own way. I don't want to fight with anybody about it, so it is what it is. But with all that being said, I'm glad that it won. Maybe the independent game thing maybe feels a little bit weird, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. If it were up to me, I would have given Clair Obscur Game of the Year, Best Narrative, Best Music, maybe one or two other ones, but certain things like game direction, I think I maybe would have given to Death Stranding 2. But yeah, congrats to Sandfall on Expedition 33, an amazing game. If you haven't played it yet, I'm not going to sit here and go nuts like most people are, like the crazy fans of this game, but from me to you, I highly recommend it. I think it was an absolutely incredible game that you're going to be thinking about for years to come. But yeah, in terms of the show itself, I think Jeff overall does a good job. Maybe, as a Muppets fan, I like the Muppets. It felt not as good as previously. The Muppet bits, Miss Piggy, I love Rolf. Love Rolf. The song, maybe a bit much, but I think Jeff did a great job. I think that his moment at the beginning, talking about his dad, was truly heartfelt, and I think, everyone had his back at that moment. So shout out to Jeff. He's always trying the best he can, and I think overall he does a great job, and he's always listening to feedback. So the Game Awards is a nice moment for us to come together, celebrate some games, see some new reveals. It's always a fun time. So that's it for this video, but let me know what you think down below about the Game Awards. Is there anything that I should have highlighted that I didn't? Was I totally wrong about the Street Fighter movie or something else? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it. So until next time, we'll see you later. Also, real quick, one last bit I forgot that I wanted to tell you. If you want to hear more thoughts about the Game Awards, make sure to check out Sacred Symbols this Monday over on Last Stand Media or early on Patreon, where you can hear me, Colin, and Chris break down all the big announcements.